Good evening. It's 5:30 PM on Wednesday, May 15th, 2024, and this regular meeting of the Sandpoint City Council is now called to order in council chambers at 1123 West Lake Street, Sandpoint, Idaho. For the record, I am Mayor Jeremy Grimm presiding. Also present are Council President Deb Rule, Councilors Joel Spiro is not here. Is he attending remotely by chance?
I'm not aware, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Justin Dick, Kyle Schreiber, and Rick Howarth. Councilors Pam Duquette and Joel Spiro are absent. Under the city's adopted code of ethics and civility, as the presiding officer, I'm to identify law enforcement personnel in the room who will be serving as Sergeant of Arms for this evening's meeting. Tonight, we have the pleasure of Police Chief Corey Kuhn in his finest blues back there. Thanks, Chief Kuhn. If everyone will please stand, we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance. That I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we'll have general announcements and reports. I have a couple of proclamations to issue as well this evening. The first is for the Sandpoint Senior Center's 50th anniversary. Whereas the Sandpoint Area Senior Center has been serving the elderly members of our Sandpoint community since 1974. And whereas in April of this year, the Sandpoint Senior Center celebrated 50 years of dedicated service. And whereas we all age and we are grateful our community has the Sandpoint Senior Center as a resource that is providing invaluable social connections and related services to our seniors and their families. Therefore, I, Jeremy Grimm, Mayor of Sandpoint, do hereby proclaim the celebration of the Sandpoint Senior Center's 50th anniversary and thank them for their dedication to serving the seniors in our community. Proclaim this 15th day of May, 2024 in the city of Sandpoint, Bonner County, Idaho. Is there someone from the Senior Center here? Excellent. Excellent. Here it is. Yes. My jacket on and everything. Okay, come on. Ladies, where are all the men?
I'm just taking a picture.
Okay, all right.
We're ready.
All right, who wants to hold the proclamation? All right, there you are. And thank you so much for all you do. Thank you so much for serving our
And
community.
keep us in.
Absolutely. We're always looking for money for you, and thank you for all you do.
Continue to do that.
Be over there in a couple years myself.
You don't have to wait.
In good hands, better than you found it. We'll carry it out. The second and final proclamation is for Idaho Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Week. Whereas in 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Day, and the calendar week in which May 15 falls as National Police Week. Established by a joint resolution of Congress in 1962, National Police Week pays special recognition to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for the safety and protection of others. Whereas public safety officers of the Sandpoint Police Department stand watch over our citizens, selflessly risking their lives to protect individuals, families, neighborhoods, and property against crime. Whereas May 15, 2024 is observed nationally as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honors of those law enforcement officers who through their courageous deeds have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty. And whereas the Sandpoint Police Department, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered dedicated service to the community. Now, therefore, I, Jeremy Grimm, Mayor of Sandpoint, do hereby proclaim May 14th through 20th as National Police Week within the city of Sandpoint, and hereby publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in communities across the nation. Throughout the city of Sandpoint, we urge and encourage all citizens to take time to appreciate our public safety officers and honor all peace officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. Proclaim this 15th day of May 2024 in the city of Sandpoint, Bonner County, Idaho. Chief? Hey, Brad. Skylar. Nice to see you. How's it going? You up to speed? Excellent. Chief is here. And,
Right here.
thank you for all you do every day, every hour. Safe out there. I know. Moving on to some additional updates, I'll just start with a couple for the council and the public. First, thin group tonight, but all right, maybe there's more online. If you've happened to gone by the Jocelyn site, this is on the west side of Boyer, just north of Super One, you will see what I was told is North America's largest trencher that is we have the pleasure of having in our town. It's a magnificent piece of equipment if you like that kind of thing. And if you're curious about what they're doing there, this is a remediation effort from Jocelyn, the owners of this former industrial site. Back in the day when they used to treat telephone poles there, they did so with creosote, which has some nasty chemicals in it. The trencher is there to dig a approximately 4-foot wide trench along the eastern border of the property that is backfilled with actual carbon, almost like a water filter. They're literally putting feet of carbon granules in that trench, and that's to stop any and filter any potential water migration across the site or off the site. They'll be working throughout the rest of the summer. You'll see quite a bit of activity there. And ultimately, that will be taking and remediating that site for future use. So just an update on that one. I noticed, is it KHQ? Just came in. And they are probably here to hear about the next item, which is if you're like me, you've received a dozen or more emails this week about the lake level and the challenges they're having at the Albion Falls Dam. I am monitoring the situation right now, trying to gather the best, a bit of information I can get, most factual information. Obviously, public safety is the #1 factor that we want to focus on here, and I'm trusting the leaders at the Army Corps and Bonneville Power to make the decisions that need to be made to protect the public safety. Having said that, I think we're all aware of the importance that the lake level plays both on our quality of life and recreational opportunities and our economy in Sandpoint and Bonner County. So I will be monitoring the situation at a time in the future. If it appears that action is required, I will probably call on the council to support a resolution or proclamation or some kind of official remark in support of addressing the lake level issue. So if there's any questions on that, the council can bring that up in just a moment. In the city today, I just want to thank staff. There was a broken forced sewer main on North Boyer that they were able to take care of within a couple of hours. It got hit by the fiber optic installation that was running up North Boyer. So that has been repaired today, and just a shout out to Rod and his crew for jumping on a probably relatively unpleasant situation. Just for the public, Lost in the 50s is this weekend. We've got the parade Friday night at 6 p.m. Saturday, we have the car show and vending. Many of the downtown streets will be closed. And I'll leave it with that. Are there any questions from the council on those first couple items before I go into some staff updates? Okay, excellent. So in regard to staff, we do have a background check on our city planner. That's the new Amy, if you knew Amy Tweeden, who's here, our senior most planner. We're doing background checks. We believe we have a candidate pending approval of those background checks will be starting the second week of July. We also have a planner 1, which is the lower level planner who's just finishing up graduate school in Ohio. She'll be here in about 2 weeks, and I'm just thrilled to have those two coming on board to fill out and get up to speed. We'll continue to have Darren Fluke and Jacobs continue to be our contract planner through that time until there's a clear time to make a a handoff and do all that work in-house. You may recall that Christine, our building official, departed last week, and Pete has been promoted as the interim building official. He's got some tests to pass, but he's handling all of the flood of projects and building inspections that are coming through right now, and they are working with the contract planner. It's not as speedy as we would hope, but they are able to respond and process applications as they're coming through. Public Works Director. Hand out just an org chart real quickly. Yeah. Piece of spit. This is a copy of the org chart. If you recall, when I took office and briefed you all, this is my aspiration. I had asked for several months to stand up 6 or so department heads. This org chart is coming together very well with Jason Welker as the Community Planning Development Director. I bring this up that second column from the right, Public Works Department, we have re-engaged with a recruiter. We had some meetings with them this week, and they are actively developing that job position and recruiting for Public Works Director. And I am really excited tonight to announce my promotion of Cheryl. Many of you know Cheryl. Cheryl Hughes, currently grants contract procurement administrator. Cheryl, I've promoted to interim central service department director. So as you can see on this org chart, Cheryl will be sitting over the clerk's office as well as contracts division, which she has recently trained a wonderful employee who is pretty much up to speed running all those contracts. She'll also be over HR and risk management and IT, which she's also currently overseeing. Cheryl is an immensely qualified candidate. She's got a master's in public administration as well as an undergraduate degree in public administration. She's won numerous awards throughout her career, including an award for the best community engagement success story, from American City and County Weekly for a project that she developed and ran in California. She's won the 2018 City of Palmade, California Public Works Department Leadership Award, American Public Works Chapter Best Award for Best Project of the Year, Most Innovative Project Solution, on and on. I cannot think of a more qualified or respected or just a responsible person to fill this position that really has her fingers in every bit of the city. My first week here, Cheryl came in and briefed me, and I was astounded that she knows everything in the city because she touches all contracts, all grants, and all procurement for every department. So with this promotion, we'll have to determine in the future if these are going to be appointed positions. If so, we likely would bring her to you for appointment. But I'll get into some of the details of the benefits of this during budget, but it ends up saving a whole position and filling a great need. So Cheryl is here. Cheryl, thank you for your hard, diligent work. I am so excited to have you take over this position, and Cheryl will be residing in the office right next to mine, adjacent to the city clerk. So with that pretty much concludes all of my comments. Are there any comments from the council?
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Carol, I really can't say enough. And council members, you all know this is a part-time job as mayor. Simply adding Jason Welker has taken hours off my plate every day. It's amazing to have qualified people who can step up and really just take on all of that was left behind here. So, Cheryl, did you want to say a couple things?
Yes, I really wanted to just extend my sincere gratitude. It has been literally 20 years in the making, and I've worked so hard. And I love this community, and I feel like I will even have a more of an impact than I already do, to just help council, organization, staff, just continue moving forward and making a difference.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Cheryl's one of those people when you have a funny feeling, she's already 2 steps ahead of it and has worked out all the potential pitfalls and skeptical angles on a contract or a project, and is already there thinking about these things and addressing them. So
Thank you again. I'm honored.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Cheryl. Any comments or announcements from the council?
Mr. Mayor, one quick announcement to the handful of you who are here, so thank you for coming. Trinity at City Beach is going to reopen. We're going to soft open on June 7th, and we're going to have our grand reopening on June 13th. And we'll go through Labor Day and a couple of events in September. And then I believe Averill Hospitality will be here on June 18th to present to Planning and Zoning as well. So thank you.
Good luck and thank you for being part of the glue that makes downtown what it is and our summer experience what it is. Any other announcements from staff or council? Any announcements from city staff?
Good evening. I have a few announcements, just to get you all up to speed on some things that are happening. The flower baskets will be delivered tomorrow, and city staff will be hanging them tomorrow, so they will be ready for Lawson 50s. It might take them into Friday, but they're hoping to get everything up tomorrow, depending on when they get delivered. The East Side, I wanted to also let you all know the East Side Highway District is partnering with our streets crew, and they're going to assist them with providing training on a Durapatcher and a crack seal machine. That is part of the agenda tonight. And they're going to actually let them use the equipment as well. Why, if this gets approved, why ours is on order. And the crack sealer is going to be used up on Schweitzer Cutoff west to Boyer. And they'll be able to get some training and utilize that equipment. The Durapatcher, they're not sure yet where they're going to use it, but they'll be able to practice with that as well. So we're very grateful for the East Side Highway District for helping the staff with that. The downtown parking striping, the parking space striping, that's happening today, or it happened today, and should be going into tomorrow, but depending on if there's rain, it may or may not be able to get completed. They are trying very hard to get that done in time for Lawson 50s. So that is a priority. So hopefully tomorrow they'll be able to get that finished up. The development impact fee study, RFP, will be hopefully released next week so that we can get a consultant on board for our development impact fee study that is a long time in the making. Marcia's Snack Shack has pretty much a concessionaire. That lease is being finalized. It's not signed, so I can't really announce yet who it is. But just in time, they want to open Memorial Weekend. So we did find somebody come through and are very excited to be able to get that open for the community for the season. So they're very excited. Baldy, the disc golf, I am currently working on the agreement for that, and as well as the lead lock. And the Lake Pondere School District Summer Meal Program, that lease has been fully executed. So they will hold their summer meal program like they did last year at City Beach for the summer, where they're providing sack lunches as they do that as part of the USDA summer feeding program. And finally, the timber sale, we are up and running again for the most part. They are fixing the roads from the winter, getting everything ready. They're gonna start selling the lumber to the mills in the next week or two. And they also said that they're gonna be reaching out to me to set up a tour if city council or other staff would like to go tour the site. So details to follow on that. That's all I got.
Thanks, Cheryl. And council members, if you're not aware, Marcia's Snack Shack, this is a new thing that we did this year. Historically, the city has hired employees to run it. We've bought ice cream. We've really worked really hard to make that go for more as a service to the community. It did generate a little bit of revenue for us. But this year, because we didn't have a recreation supervisor to manage and do all that, we decided to put it out for contractor bid. And it's a really neat opportunity for this young couple, I'll say, who has a business, who appears very qualified to run it. So it should provide the amenity and reduce our internal costs for hiring a bunch of teenagers to run it all summer. So good stuff. And thanks for all your work, Cheryl.
Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, just a quick comment, just a thank you to you and to the mayor as well too for working with the Baldy disc golf folks as well. I know they've been in limbo for several years and we've seen them many a times at city council. So kudos to you guys. I just had them on the radio show last week here, and that course means a lot to a lot of people in this community. So thank you.
Yeah. You bet.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Looks like Maeve is back there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. I just got off the trail. I just did an inspection for the watershed, the lower basin trails. I'm happy to announce that the the first phase of the black or advanced trail downhill, from the city's perspective, it passed its initial inspection. They still have a couple of requirements to meet, such as putting up the signage and giving the emergency responders a tour and making sure that they're equipped. But as far as the construction goes and the erosion control and all of the work that they've done, they're in tip-top shape. So I want to notify you all of that. It looks like it will probably have a partial opening of the upper portion in the next week or two. And that, again, is up to POP. If you recall from our agreement with the Pondere Peddlers, or POP, respectfully, they are the actual project managers of the contract. So we're kind of three levels removed, but it's our land. So that's why I do an inspection. And additionally, we did do a walkthrough with the Selkirk Recreation District trail builder. I've seen the flag line, and now it got handed off to Schweitzer. So Schweitzer's taking a portion of that uphill trail and managing it from there. So it's really exciting because this is the collaborative moment that we were working on in the watershed recreation plan, Deb, that we worked so hard on. I actually today, another thing that we did was a presentation to the leadership Sandpoint class. And I think many of our staff have gone through it, and probably some of you, but it's always a joy to go talk to them. I as well went through a leadership program when I was in my former home, and knowing that they are all coming out of that course and, very excited, and that is our future. So we talked all about the watershed today, and they were really excited about the collaborative agreements and how we were able to do that. And it was great to be able to share that, it was because of our partnership with Kinnicksu Land Trust and with the Nordic Club and with the ski resort and the development company and the BLM and the Forest Service that we were able to come together. So yeah, it's a big moment for that. And with that, Kinnicksu Land Trust has just messaged, and they're on board with with moving towards, we're looking at doing some sort of a nature play workshop coming up in the next year. So we're figuring out funding for that and how we can make that happen. But along with nature play and outdoor classrooms, we've always been talking about the watershed as an outdoor classroom. And one thing that came to light today, we have our project manager, Scott Rulander, who's with the Pond and Tyler Savage. Both of them have extensive natural resource backgrounds. And Tyler in particular, he worked for the Division of Natural Resources in Washington, which is a little bit more stringent than Idaho's DNR department. And it was really great because they were calling out to me all the different things that the trail builders had done. And, you know, did you know this? They cleaned this up. They moved the water that was coming off here that no one had dealt with. All the snow removal that had been blowing over and all the debris. We've got a crew that's out there cleaning that up. So the trail builders really have gone farther above and beyond, and they're not just looking at the corridor that they're working in, they're looking at the whole area. So I'm really proud of them, and I just want to dispel any myths or any rumors that they're not doing their job, nor that we aren't doing inspections. I was trained by the International Mountain Bike Association. I was trained by the Forest Service on trail inspection. I actually gave professional lectures throughout the state of Alaska for trail building and was instrumental in the state of Alaska's implementation of multiple trail plans and particularly flow trails. And while flow trails and downhill flow trails in Sandpoint may be new to this community, we are still about a decade behind the market and what the rest of the trail building world and communities and recreation communities have. So we're not there yet. And when I say that, it might seem outrageous to even say that, but we're not. And when I say it, I'm referencing the types of trails. We really need, more technical features. We need more skill features. We need to be able to teach our young people and our new riders so that when they leave here and they ride, or they go off to college and they get a scholarship for a Division I college for mountain biking, they're actually equipped to be able to race. In addition to mountain biking is something that we can do at all ages. For those of you that don't know, I can hardly walk. I need my knees replaced. And I ride an e-bike most of the time because I truly can't hardly walk. My mom, who is actually disabled to a very significant degree, she rides an e-bike and has for about 15 years. She's on her second e-bike now. So I'm a huge proponent of biking, but mountain biking in particular is something I can do with the most experienced riders in the world, as well as the elders in the community. And it's one of the only places that for me as a newcomer to Sandpoint, I can get out on the trail and I can learn about the natural resources, the history, the indigenous perspectives. And the Ponderay peddlers have been, gosh, Deb, what, 15, 20 years they've been active. They may not have always been formal, but how long?
2004.
Yeah, 2004. Wow. So we're in 2024, 20 years. That's huge. That's huge for a bike club. So to say that the trails aren't quite there yet, it takes a long time. And I talked about that today to the leadership standpoint of, Jeremy, Mayor, your particular experience and how, it took your foresight when you were a staff member like me way back in the day to pursue the grants and pursue the planning and really push for something like this. And we're only just now seeing realizing the potential. So it is very exciting. I know Nordic and Connecticut Land Trust are really excited for the next round of work. And just so the community has a little bit more comfort with what we're doing, we're implementing the trail plan that was conceptualized by the International Mountain Bike Association in conjunction with all those partners that I talked about. And we are working on the most highest density area of trails. From there on out, we won't be building a lot of trails. And what we're building now is not necessarily new trails. We are actually working on trails that were illegally built or roguely built, if you will, perhaps 20 years ago, before they were even allowed to have recreationists in the watershed. So that's what we're working on right now and reestablishing that. I do want to address a concern, particularly of yours, Councilmember Schreiber, was a comment I heard in the last meeting about the corridor width. And the corridor width of trail building it can range from 10 feet, 15 feet, and as much as 25 feet. It depends on the area. But when we're done with it, it will shrink down to that 18 to 24 inches. It won't where the features are. So where the features are, it's obviously going to swell. But the overall average is what we're looking for, is that 24 inches, 18 inches width when it's done. There is a methodology of building, and more of the techie trails, you'll see it in a lot of the historical ways of trail building, kind of the primitive ways, where they would be out there with the pickaxe and the old way of doing it, if you will. And we still build trails that way. So make no mistake about it, the next round of trails, as we get further into the backcountry, we're going to start to see more of that technique. But for what we're doing, we're reusing a lot of the existing footprint of what was there. And then we're reclaiming. We're not in the reclaiming portion of the project yet. That'll happen in the fall and the spring. So yeah, if you have any questions about that. Oh, I have one other thing
Yeah,
about
how's the
Traverse.
Russell Center? Yeah,
Russell Center. So we did our final walkthrough of the legacy portion of the building. I do want to extend an invitation. I've been giving a lot of tours lately to all of you. If you want to go out and get a tour any day of the week, I'd be happy to show you. It's pretty cool to see it coming together. We still have to do all the exterior work. So on the south side of the building, there's going to be an entire canopy, if you recall the image, and it has the wood slat walls, the 40-foot overhang. We're putting in all the doors now. So there's a couple roll-up doors, but Legacy passed its inspection. So that is complete. Any holes or anything like that people are seeing, we still have a couple more utilities that we have to pump through. So we don't have windows everywhere. What we have are the cutouts on the north end where the utilities will go. And then there's a fence that goes around it. And then there's a robust landscaping as well. So all of those plans and everything are part of our council packets over the past. So if people want to look at that, I can always direct people where that is. But I do encourage people, as not just you, but the community, if people want a tour, I'm happy to give a tour. And the playground is out to bid now. So we did our pre-bid meeting and we had a couple of folks there from different construction companies. So we'll see how it goes. We did issue an addenda today. Cheryl and Garrett, her team did. They were fantastic. So congrats to Cheryl. I can't help it. She is truly everything you said and so much more. But yeah, we're really moving along. I think we're past the hurdle. And on May 28th, the day after Memorial Day, we have the Dreamland Skate Park Company will be arriving on site and we'll be kicking off the construction of the skate park. At this time, we don't anticipate any closures of the existing bowl. However, that will, we'll have to play it by ear and see how it goes, especially as they merge the two areas together. There might be some temporary closures, but they're anticipating keeping that portion open. And they'll probably be done around mid-August. I think I said early fall, but they're aiming to be done around mid-August. So with that, I'll keep you updated on construction again next week if I'm around. And if you do want to come out, you know how to find me. So any questions?
Thanks, Maeve. Got a lot going
Thank
on.
you.
Any questions for Maeve?
Thank you all very much.
Any other staff reports back there? Chief Kuhn, I see getting up.
First, thank you for recognizing the department. It's an important day in our history, so thank you. With that, just a couple heads up, I sent everybody an email. They should have got it. Should have had some data, some stats. Told you I was going to send it out instead of stand up here and talk about it. If you guys got questions, feel free to send me an email or ask, and I can go into the depths of it. A couple events coming up, as you guys clearly know. Lost in the 50s will be this weekend. It's our Friday, Saturday, and Sunday show. Town's starting to get busy. You're going to see more traffic out there if you haven't. You're going to see more law enforcement activity if you haven't. There's been a couple comments on Facebook if you've been looking. The guys are doing a fantastic job of slowing people down and reminding them of the speed limits in our downtown core. The next event coming up after that's our mock DUI. We partner with the Lake Pend Oreille School District. So on May 29th, that morning, we'll do that mock DUI. Basically, we simulate a DUI crash. We bring all the seniors out. Big partnership. It's a great event. If you haven't seen it, ask somebody about it, but that'll be on the 29th. So just a couple events coming up to be aware of and a quick reminder of. Any questions? Perfect. Thanks.
Thanks, Chief. Anyone else from staff want to update? Before we go into the public forum, I just failed to mention that we did have our first round of collective bargaining discussions with the fire union. Big thanks to Councilman Howarth for representing the city in those negotiations. The first round went till something like 10:30 at night or so. And they're going to be back at it next week to work through the rest of it. From what I understand, it was a very positive discussion. Do you want to add anything, Rick, there?
Yeah, Mayor, I'll just, I think you heard correctly. Very, very good structure, friendly communication, friendly dialogue. We made a lot of good progress. I would say we took the easy subjects first. Pay and all of the financial things are TBD. And so I'm sure it'll get a bit more difficult as we proceed, but I think the groundwork and the fundamental foundation and the alignment between both parties that we want to get to an agreement is very, very helpful, and I'm sure we'll get there.
Good, good. Well, thank you. Thank you for your service. Any questions for Rick about that at this point? Excellent. I think that's it for staff announcements. Next on the agenda is the public forum portion of the meeting, which allows the public to address the council and myself regarding items listed on the consent calendar on any topic not included on the agenda. If anyone in the chambers wishes to speak now during the public forum or during any other portion of the meeting, you must complete a comment sign-up form at hand and hand it to staff. If you're on Zoom and wish to speak during the general public forum, please raise your hand on Zoom at this time. To accommodate those who wish to speak on general items during the public forum, as well as those who wish to speak on specific business items on our agenda, a total of 20 minutes will be dedicated to the public forum at the beginning of the meeting. If you would like to speak and did not have an opportunity to do so, we will provide an opportunity by reopening the public forum at the end of our regular agenda. I'd like to make everyone aware that the city does have a policy on public meeting decorum. The rules are posted in the chambers at the entrance of the door. In summary, I'd ask that those participating in our meetings this evening, please be pleasant and respectful, not make derogatory statements about others, including city staff, not be boisterous or disruptive, no calling out, clapping, holding up signs, etc. Please note that council cannot take testimony on any planning related matters outside of an official public hearing. Public comments need to be kept to comments only. Please no questions or debate. You're always welcome to contact me during regular business hours if you have any questions or concerns. During the public forum and also during other public comment opportunities during the meeting, each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to speak. When it is your turn, please state your name and whether or not you reside within the Sandpoint city limits. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up to speak during the public forum?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Chase Youngdahl.
Hi, Chase. I believe you're welcome to speak on this item.
Mr. Mayor.
On the consent, yeah.
This is during public forum, it's for the consent calendar and Chase, so you're good.
Hey, well, good evening, Mayor, councilors. For the record, I'm Chase Youngdahl. I reside in the city of Sandpoint, and I'm also the Noxious Weeds Department Head for Bonner County. And the item on the consent calendar is number 8. There's a resolution 1630 was the past integrated weed management plan in 2016, and it's being proposed to freeze that for a period of 6 months, I believe, in order to incorporate traditional herbicides into the city's management portfolio in order to stop the bleeding with some of the noxious weed issues on city-owned and managed property. And just as a reminder, it's a statutory obligation for all landowners in the state of Idaho. It includes municipalities to make control efforts on noxious weeds, of which there are 70 on the Idaho noxious weed list that are subject to that statute. And just time to roll through a couple of examples that I've observed just right off the bat. The Highway 2 bike path that runs spans several miles, that's managed by the city of Sandpoint, it's been going on a decade since traditional herbicides have been able to be used in any kind of meaningful capacity. And unless you implement aggressive strategies utilizing the other methods, in order to just tread water, you'll fall behind in a hurry. And it's my observation that that's where the city is at now. And I can think off the top of my head, at least 5 state listed noxious weeds that proliferate to varying degrees on that bike path. And then in some of the other improved turf settings, city-owned parks, think orange and yellow hawkweed, subject to the Idaho noxious weed law. And those they not only spread by windborne seed, but also from above ground and below ground running root systems, stolons and rhizomes. And mowing, it'll just push those stolons around and continue to perpetuate the spread. And Canada thistle would be another. Spiny leaves, you're in areas where children are barefoot, that's not something you want. And that's another rhizomatous spread specimen, where think of each parent plant having basically a spider web network of rhizomes underneath, and each one putting out a lateral that's going to run for several feet and pop up several more. You know, you're never going to make any kind of headway digging those up. So,
Jason, I want you to not pay attention this time, or I'm going to give you a couple extra minutes because you are an expert in this, and I really appreciate your testimony and comments.
okay, yeah, appreciate that. I was prepared to try to wrap this thing up in 3 minutes, but at any rate, I think it would be important for the purposes of stopping the bleeding to to freeze this integrated weed management plan. And I will commit to working with Maeve in the future, who's been great, by the way, on drafting an updated proposed integrated weed management plan for the city. And I would be willing at a future time to come back before this body with a presentation to go through integrated weed management, go through the nuts and bolts, go through herbicides in the intricacies, of which there are many, because there's a stigma with chemicals. They're easily misunderstood. And I think it would probably be of benefit to the mayor and the council to be able to get a good educational presentation on that and be in a setting where we can dialogue on the matter. So.
Jason, I do have a question for you. The reason I brought this forward is it seems like this was adopted in 2016, and council, if you haven't read through the integrated weed management plan, has a series of ways to escalate the use of herbicides. But it seems like, one, it's incredibly time consuming for my staff to even do the assessments and the benefits and what were the effects and the outcomes. But it seems like if every couple of years, I mean, the intention is great behind it, but every couple of years, if you knock them back with traditional herbicides, then maybe it gives us a chance to get ourselves back to level set and start working with less intensive methods. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that is fair to say. And that would just be, I mean, traditional herbicides are one tool in the integrated toolbox. I mean, you're talking prevention, mechanical control, cultural control, organic herbicides, traditional herbicides. And to have all of those methods available to you on equal footing is important for, to have a management plan to where, and otherwise, the cost benefit of, for all intents and purposes, eliminating the use of traditional herbicides is not going to pencil out for the city.
Council, do you have any questions for Chase? He is an expert in this field. I know it's on consent, but while he's here, would certainly open it up for you to ask him a question.
I do have a question, Mayor.
Go ahead.
As I was reading the integrated weed management plan, it's an escalation kind of cascading. So you start with the less chemicals, and ultimately you could get to herbicides. Can you educate us on what are the challenges of going from some of the more simple ways to combat it to why can't we get to herbicides quicker? Because it does allow you to use herbicides, but there's steps to get there. Just educate us on what it takes to get through those steps, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, it's my understanding is that it's kind of a cumbersome approval process in order to go through to get to that point within the city, which is where this integrated weed management plan would need to be updated in the future in order to put that on even ground to where your staff can, make a managerial decision to go out and use an appropriate method for a particular infestation at a particular place and time.
And Councilman Howard, just, you probably understand this concept. Chase works for the county.
Yeah.
This is our plan that was adopted. So he's just here as someone who's knowledgeable. I'm not even sure he's read or
Okay.
is aware of our integrated plan.
Okay, thank you for that
But
clarification.
it sounds like you help us and Maeve work with Maeve to potentially update it to something that's at least for the council to consider. Is
Yeah,
that-
at any time Maeve calls upon, I'm always ready and willing to help. And as I'd mentioned, in the future, I'd be willing to come before you with a presentation,
Thank you.
to go through this in more detail. And so, I mean, the bottom line is herbicides are labeled for specific use sites, rights of way, natural areas, turf. As long as you match up the chemistry that you're supposed to use on that particular use site and you use it according to the label instructions, there's little to no impact on non-targets, including people.
Well, thank you so much for your
In a nutshell.
information. Thanks for coming out tonight, and speak in on this.
Okay, appreciate it.
Becky Meyer.
Oh, Dr. Meyer.
Hello.
Nice to see you, Mayor.
Nice to
Thank
see
you for
you.
coming to visit with me after you were elected. Welcome to the new councils. I haven't met you before. I'm Becky Meyer. I'm the superintendent of the Lake Pend Oreille School District. I came quite a few times last year to talk about our district safety task force and some of our new goals with a strategic plan. Tonight, I would like to just let you know a couple of things. Counselor Horworth, when you were talking about your collective bargaining, I just brought up last night, the board did approve our negotiated agreement. So we're done and moved on. We have a small raise for the district staff, but the main thing we focused on this year is our health insurance increased 7.7%. And typically our family, it's very expensive. So we really concentrated and focused on helping our staff that has family and dependent care. So a lot of our benefits went to that this year. I wanted to invite you on June 11th. We have our Long Range Facility Planning Committee. It has been working all year, every month, and they've been meeting and having pretty long meetings. And it is patrons and parents from the community. There are some staff folks on that as well, but they've been meeting religiously all year long, touring our buildings, looking at the management plan, looking at our building condition evaluations, and they're really going to be presenting to the board their recommendations. I haven't seen them yet. We've had lots of discussion, but I've stepped back for that. So it's really as the patrons have come up with their recommendations for long-range facilities. As you probably know, with House Bill 521, our district, if the board chooses to take it in one lump sum, our district would get 14.68 million. You probably read about some of our deficiencies at Sandpoint Middle School and some of the things that have happened this year. So we're hoping that the board, that the board approves us to make some improvements there at the middle school. There's some at Washington and Northside. Those are our 3 lowest rated schools. But I would welcome you to come to the meeting so that you could hear what the board is listening to, what the patrons are suggesting. And I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but I'm just inviting you to come. Also, it's
Time and location?
it's normally at the district office, but because we think it'll be well attended, we've moved it to the Pend Oreille Event Center, and it's at 5 p.m. We also are having our annual budget meeting, so you would get a 2-for-1. You'd get to hear what our budget is as well. We are presenting a red budget, as I like to call it, a deficit budget. We do have to run in the red this year. That's a longer story, but I'd be happy to meet with any of you individually if you want to hear more about that. So thank you. Welcome. Everyone have a nice night. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Dr. Meyer, for informing us. Keep up the good work.
David Phillips.
And Mr. Phillips?
Greetings, council members and mayor. I'm David Phillips. I'm a North Idaho native and Bonner County homeowner. I wanted to start by telling you a little bit about my wonderful weekend. On Saturday, we took our boat and used one of the local boat launches, loaded my family up and went across the lake to one of our favorite restaurants. We sat down and ate. The place was packed. The boat docks were almost full. After that, we went over across the lake again, went to the city, docked. Downtown was popping. We had ice cream. We visited several different shops and in general enjoyed the scenery and supported the local economy. Now, perhaps I should clarify, the lake in question was Lake Coeur d'Alene. Unfortunately, Lake Pend Oreille is not much more than a mud puddle at this point. Our lovely lake is a useless mud bog thanks to the actions and or inactions of the Albany Falls Dam management. No access to restaurants, no access to downtown, no access for the public, no access for homeowners. Current lake level is 2,055 feet. Last year at this time, it was 2,057. In 2023, the lake reached a full 2,062 feet on June 10th. It took 41 days to fill the lake from 55 to 62 in 2023. If they plan on holding the lake at 55 feet until the beginning of June, as announced last week, then we cannot expect to hit capacity until mid-July, if at all this year. This is already past the point and wait and see what actions are needed. What I'd like to see the council members discuss is what exactly they're doing about the situation. What actions will they be taking first thing tomorrow morning? I know that if I were in an elected position of power and responsibility for a community and an uncaring government entity was threatening the entire heartstone of my community, I would go down there and insert myself so far into their business that they would have to hire a team of surgeons to determine where they ended and I began. I'm sure that, oops, sorry. I would ensure that no expense is spared and this repair is being worked on 24/7. If there is no lake, there is no summer in Sandpoint or any of the other communities that would depend on this lake and river system. What is the council doing to address the massive financial damages that are going to be incurred within the community by this delay? What is the council doing to ensure that this is resolved as quickly as possible? What is the council doing to ensure this doesn't happen again and that in the future, our lake access window is expanded beyond a paltry 4 months and not reduced to 3? This is the threat to the health of every single community that relies on this lake. Thank you for your time. I look forward to hearing future discussion and some action on this topic.
Thank you very much, David.
Janine Shepherd.
Mayor, council members, just wanted to come pray for you tonight. I'd love it if you'd join me. Dear Lord, we stand before you tonight seeking your wisdom and knowledge. We cannot do this life without you, but we need your hand upon us. We have problems in our city, your city, that we cannot solve on our own. We pray for those suffering from depression and mental illness, Lord. We ask that your divine hand would be upon them. We command the spirit of suicide to leave our county in Jesus' name, and that your sweet peace would settle on everyone here. We pray for anyone who is suffering, that they be returned to their right mind. We pray for people in the throes of addiction and pray that you would heal them, that drugs and alcohol would not have a grip on them. We command the spirit of addiction to leave our county, and that the people would seek you, Lord, instead of all the ways we try to fill the places in us that should only belong to you. Lord, our only hope is in you. Please bless the mayor and the council members. May your peace rest upon them. May they be diligent in seeking you and your will for our city. May they know of your great love for them and that you long to meet with them. Make yourself real to them and everyone here tonight. Soften the hearts of the people. From Numbers 6:24 through 26, I ask, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. And the Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. We thank you, Lord, in advance for what you will do. You are mighty and good, and we love you. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we have a couple of hands raised online. Jalal Abari.
Good evening. My name is Jalal Abari, and I have a small piece written for tonight. I would like to start off by stating that I do not flatter myself into believing that my remarks will influence public opinion in the neutral, much less the enemy states, and that it is also not my goal or intention. As a representative for the European people and European diaspora, however, I claim the right.
Mr. Abari, do you reside in the city of Sandpoint? Can you clarify?
Of course I do. I do reside in Sandpoint for the record.
Thank you so much.
Okay, where was I? I claim the right to call out a danger if it threatens not only our own land, but the entirety of Western civilization. We Europeans have a duty to sound the alarm against international attempts to plunge the European peoples into chaos, and to warn that Jewry has in communism a terroristic military power whose danger cannot be overestimated. The danger is immediate.
Per the City of Sandpoint rules of public decorum, threatening remarks and derogatory remarks against anyone become justification for loss of privilege to provide public comment.
Taylor Ann Vaughn. Taylor Ann Vaughn. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to assume she's having a technical issue on her side.
All right.
Judy Stroyer.
Hello there. Can you hear me?
Is this Ms. Sawyer?
Yes, this is Judy Stroyer. Thank you. Resident of Sandpoint, 1150 Lake Street, Sandpoint. Can you please give me a moment to speak, understanding that the First Amendment protects my speech, even if you don't agree with it? The First Amendment is here to protect individuals' political ideas and speech. It's not for you guys to decide on the fly what is protected and what isn't. You don't have that right. The First Amendment tells you that you need to listen
Listen,
to
can
my.
you start the timer, please?
Okay, can you hear me?
Hello?
Have you agreed to those? Do you agree to the First Amendment? Because you don't get to sit up there and disagree with my political speech and then shut me down for your political intolerance. I'm not going to use any curse words. I'm not going to call any violence. I'm not going to be vulgar. But I do have a political opinion that you may not agree with involving the state of Israel and Jews. And if I'm able to talk about that, I will go forward. And if you cut me off, I would expect that I will be filing a civil rights lawsuit against you. You do not have the right to shut down free speech that you do not appreciate. You don't get to decide what is fair and what is not fair. The First Amendment allows me to speak no matter what, unless I'm calling to violence. I don't care what I say politically. You cannot cut me off. So quit being a little punk up there on the.
There's Mr. Mayor, we can cut off for calling names. That's.
Yes, thank you. The former speaker was cut off for calling me a punk or summon a punk per our rules of decorum. That is grounds for losing your right to speak during our public forum. Anyone else?
Rebecca Holland.
Hello, Ms. Holland, can you hear us?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. So I'm going to bring it back to Sandpoint business. That was pretty crazy. But I just wanted to jump in here real quick and say that I consider myself a big proponent of biking, and I really love the mountain biking when I was younger. But when it comes to street biking, that's another issue that I would like to see the city put some more attention to. There's council members that like to bike. I'd like to see a larger effort made in that direction for some safety issues. There's paint being done on the streets. It was wonderful to see Division painted. And there's other areas like that, so that we don't have accidents. We can make it safer for anyone that wants to get around. It's just a wonderful town for biking. So I wanted to thank you for the paint and encourage more and bring the business of talking here on Zoom back to Sandpoint business. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holland.
Mr. Mayor, that is all who have indicated a desire to speak during public forum.
Thank you so much. That will conclude the public forum portion of this evening's meeting. We will now proceed with the consent calendar. For the record, the total amount of bills is $580,746.03 for regular payable. Does council have any questions, or are there any items council wishes to remove from the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman Rule.
I'd like to move item number 5 to new business so we can discuss.
So done, moved.
Mr. Mayor, to confirm item number 5, the procurement and contract policy update.
Correct.
I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dick, second by Rule. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Howard,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Dick.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
We will now move on to new business. With the first two items under new business, city staff seeks permission to solicit bids for the 2024 pavement management project and 2024 chip seal pilot project. I will now yield the floor to construction manager Holly Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just a second, I'll pull my screen up.
Thanks, Holly.
Okay. Holly Ellis, Construction Manager, here to talk about the 2024 paving maintenance project. This year it is on First Street. Pictured to the on the left of the screen is a picture of First Street, so you can see the condition of the existing condition of the pavement that we're going to be replacing. A brief overview of the project. So this fiscal year 2024 paving project was identified in our 2020 pavement condition assessment. Its pavement condition index is between 17 and 35, which is between very poor and poor condition. The asphalt is deteriorating and there are several patches on this stretch. So the project location is First Street and we're located between Forest and Ella, moving from east to west, and Jefferson and Division. There's one good stretch of pavement that we don't need to rehabilitate. It was done under a previous project between Jefferson and Ella. The improvements include removal and replacement of asphalt. They're going to put in a grading base to rebuild the crown of the asphalt pavement. And while they're in there doing this work, they're also going to be replacing aging infrastructure. So sewer lateral lines and water service lines that are aging and need to be replaced as identified by our utility supervisor are going to be replaced within the project limits. And in addition, we're upsizing an existing water main. It's a 6-inch water main and we're upsizing it for better capacity in that area. Also, while we're doing this work, we're improving our stormwater drain lines and replacing catch basins that are adjacent to the project. Schedule, we are anticipating to get out to bid next month. This will be back to council for award in July. Construction would take place in August or September. Prior to construction, we'll notify all of the residents in the area to let them know that this work is happening and engage with them through the project. All of the local residents will maintain access to their driveways and their homes during the construction. This budget, we did budget for this project in FY24. We plan to be within budget, and this is funded by the Resort City Tax, our street general fund, and the water and sewer fund will also be paying their proportionate share. And the action before council tonight is to request to authorize staff to finalize the design and advertise this project for bid. Again, the contract, the award of the contract will come back to council, anticipated in July.
Excellent. Thank you, Holly. I'm pretty excited that we're going to start fixing some roads. Do council members have any questions?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman Schreiber.
Holly, great job on this project. Excited to see it. Quick question. Is there any concrete work happening as connected to this?
It actually is looking like the answer to that is no.
Okay.
If typically when we do a pavement maintenance project, if there's an ADA ramp or if there's curb that's in need of repair adjacent to the project, we replace that. Fortunately, before Christine Kuhlman left, we were able to walk the project, and at the time she was serving as our ADA expert, and it did not seem that any of the curb ramps required replacement. There are 2 ramps that if we have good budget, maybe we could stretch and get some curb work in, but at this time the answer is no, we don't have any concrete work anticipated.
Okay, yeah, you touched on exactly where I was going with that, so thanks.
Any other questions for Holly from the council? Are there any members of the public who wish to comment on this item?
No, Mr. Mayor.
I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution permitting staff to solicit bids for the 2024 pavement management project.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Schreiber, second by Dick. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Rule. Yes. Counselor Dick,
Yes.
Counselor Howard.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
And I would now entertain a motion to approve the resolution permitting city staff to solicit bids for the 2024 chip seal project.
So moved.
Moved. Excellent.
Could we maybe hear the?
Yeah.
the presentation first?
I love your enthusiasm, Councilman Dick. I
I'm
think
sorry.
we've missed a portion of Holly's presentation.
I was gonna wait.
I thought there was a second part to that first one. I apologize.
Okay, our pilot chip seal project. This is on Schweitzer Cutoff. Just giving a little bit of background, pavement preservation. The image on the right is from our pavement condition assessment, and it outlines why we do pavement preservation. And the purpose is we are trying to keep our streets, the few streets that we have in good condition, we're trying to keep them in good condition. And there's a lot of cost benefits to doing that. And you're prolonging the life of the pavement by doing pavement preservation. So there are many methods of pavement preservation and maintenance. And what we're here tonight to talk about is chip seal. So Schweitzer Cutoff, that street is in good condition, and that's purposefully why we picked it. So we are working on a street that is in good condition. It's actually a PCI of 70 to 85, meaning it's in very good condition, which makes it a good application for chip seal. So what is chip seal? It's a really common and cost-effective measure for pavement preservation. It's done in the county and many other of our neighboring communities. Post Fall and Coeur d'Alene do yearly chip seal projects. Bonner County has their own equipment. Boundary County has their own equipment, and they self-perform. What it is they put a coating of asphalt oil down on the existing road surface, and then they follow it with some small chips. In this case, we're putting 3/8 inch, so really small, finer aggregate chips over the street surface. And the purpose of it is to help protect the street from water and weather damage, like the hot sun. And it will keep the street in good condition. So benefits, again, maintaining that condition. We're extending the life of the pavement. On average, places will see that pavement condition extended life of 5 to 7 years. Waterproofing the pavement, we're giving a new life to that asphalt. And then there's also some skid resistance on the surface, which we'll see the benefit of in the winter in particular. And the big benefit is cost savings. So when our cities or municipalities are able to self-perform this work, they train their crews, they buy equipment, they'll see that this is about 1/5 the cost of a conventional overlay. So there's the potential for significant cost savings. So a little bit more about the process. What we're working on right now is crack sealing. So as Cheryl mentioned, we're working with Eastside, borrowing some of their equipment to get this surface prepped. And they're out there crack sealing the small areas along Schweitzer Cutoff that do need to be crack sealed. The next step is that we'll have a contractor come on board. They'll prep the street by sweeping it. They'll do the chip sealing, which again is a 2-part process. The first is the liquid asphalt, and then they put the chips down, and then they compact those chips in place. They continue to sweep that new chip seal project, and then they'll come back with a fog seal on top, which is a final layer of liquid asphalt. And that kind of helps keep the chips in place and fill some voids and really protect the asphalt. And the last step is that they'll restripe the road. So our pilot project, our question that we have is, should we be chip sealing in Sandpoint? Our current pavement condition assessment does not provide that chip seal as an option. Again, it's really prevalent in this area. All of our neighboring communities are chip sealing. It's very cost effective. So our question is, if we are successful in applying chip seal, should we entertain this and put it in our pavement condition plan in the next update in the future? So that's what we're trying to answer by this pilot project. Our location of the project is on Schweitzer Cutoff. It's between North Boyer Road and Boyer Avenue. And we would chip seal and fog seal the vehicular lanes. The bike lanes would just be fog sealed. Bikers do not like chip seals. It provides a really bumpy road surface for them. And, bikes don't wear on the road like cars do. So they don't need the chip seal. So JB engineers so far, they've developed some construction documents. They prepared those for us. And they worked really hard, and they got a lot of input from our neighboring communities who do that project more frequently. Eastside Highway District has weighed in really heavily to our documents. Bonner County, Post Falls, Coeur d'Alene, many neighboring areas, because the purpose is we're trying to get a good product out of this, and all the lessons learned, that's what they've been able to provide. And the last piece here is JB's engineers is also going to be supporting our crews during construction. So when our crews are out there observing the contractor, they'll be able to make sure that the contractor is following all the proper practices so that ensuring that we do get the best product. So the schedule for this, if we get a contractor on board and award a contract, the work would take place in June or July this year. Funding would be from our street budget, general fund. And just a note here on if we're successful, what's next? So if we decide that chip seal was successful and we have a successful application here, we can include it in our next update to our pavement condition assessment, and that will inform where we chip seal. So what streets do we want to chip seal? Are we just going to focus on arterials, heavy traffic roads, or could we chip seal local streets? The other question that we could answer in the future is how can we get this work done most cost effectively? Right now, we're going to be relying on a contractor for the install, and there are opportunities that if our crews were trained or if we purchased equipment, we could self-perform this work for a fraction of the costs. Again, 20% of what an overlay might cost. And this is what some of our neighboring communities do. So this would just be the start to a broader effort for pavement maintenance in Sandpoint. So the action is before you. The request is to approve the chip seal project and authorize staff to finalize construction documents.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Holly regarding the chip seal project?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman Howard.
Holly, given that the surrounding neighborhoods, Coeur d'Alene, other cities have used this extensively, why can't we just learn from them? Why do we have to do a separate pilot ourselves?
So my understanding is there's history in Sandpoint specifically. There was a chip seal project in South Sandpoint, I believe, and it didn't go well. And part of the reason, and the question is why? And the answer was we didn't have construction oversight and the contractor didn't perform. So we are really trying to be, I would say, delicate with our second attempt to this standard practice. And, it is done everywhere all the time, but we're taking it, I would say, with a little bit more care so that we can show whether or not it can be successful. And then I think have more support to funding it in the future. Again, like maybe we purchase that equipment and self-perform that work on our own, or we have a yearly chip seal project. We work with, say Dover and Ponderay, and we partner on larger projects. But this is just kind of, I would say, a kickoff maybe to something bigger because of that lack of success earlier.
But is there any reason we shouldn't believe that this would be successful?
In my opinion, no. It's really buttoned. We have really buttoned it up. We have a really good spec, all of the lessons learned. And as my understanding is if you're not paying attention and you let a contractor do the work and you're not paying attention, you're not going to have a good product. If you're there and you know, and you're paying attention and you know what to pay attention to, you'll have a good application.
Thank you. Excited to see how it turns out, and hopefully we can do more of this in the future. It seems like a very cost-effective way to approach our street maintenance. Any other questions for Holly? I would now entertain a motion to approve resolution permitting the city staff to solicit bids for the 2024 chip seal pilot project. Oh, do not see that in my. Is there any public comment on this?
Mr. Mayor, there's not.
Excellent. I would now entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay, second by Rule. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Rule? Yes. Counselor Howarth?
Yes.
Counselor Dick?
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes.
Thank you. Next item under new business, I'll now yield the floor to Recreation Superintendent Katie Bradbury, who will introduce our aquatic-based summer youth programs and provide an update on the lifeguard program. This is a information item, no action. And just to sort of preface this, if you're not familiar, Katie's predecessor, Jason Wiley, departed the city, I believe, in December. So the city, until a few weeks ago, I think Katie's on week 3 now, maybe, had no recreation superintendent. So therefore no one to manage programs, arrange hiring, interviews, training, etc. So this lifeguarding program typically takes many weeks and months to train lifeguards appropriately. There simply wasn't time to do that or staff to oversee it. So I take my hat off to Katie here because she has come up with an interim solution that she's going to tell us all about. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you. In my short time, I've kind of done a little bit of research regarding the lifeguard program. I've come from a variety of municipalities that have experienced lifeguarding staffing issues as well as programming issues. And my understanding is in the last couple of years, the city has offered youth swim programs was 2019, 2022. Obviously, we had the COVID issue and a lot of our programs were canceled. The swim program was not brought back. And since then, I'm sorry, the proposal before you is now to rebuild an aquatics-based program for the kids based at City Beach and expanding it into a half-day summer camp that has the potential of serving up to 60 kids per day, providing families with a new high-engaged outdoor program to keep their kids playing and learning safely at the beach this summer. The city lifeguard program has likewise been negatively impacted by the demographic and shift in employment environment over the last few years. In 2023, the lifeguard program, despite receiving the same budget allocation as had in the past year, was unable to recruit lifeguards and thus was put on pause. Recognizing the larger challenges faced by not just Sandpoint, but cities all over the country on recruiting and retaining lifeguards, the city has decided to put the lifeguard program on pause again in 2024. Instead, we'll move our focus to our limited resources on providing aquatic-based instruction and supervised free swim opportunities at City Beach, as well as other activities such as games, crafts, and sports. My recommendation is support the recreation staff development of a new youth aquatics-based half-day summer camp program that will run for the weeks in July and into August. That kind of gives me some more time to do recruiting, as well as looking for instructors if I need them, or counselors with instruction certifications as well. The community base for this allocation change, the programming offered for kids of all ages, more specifically kids and families wanting to develop their confidence in open water swim, that will be monitored by camp counselors and taught by proficient instructors. After their swim lessons wrap up, that's where the fun programming begins of the recreation staff, where we can offer them, things like sandcastle building contests or relay races or water balloon tosses, things that you do during your typical day camp programs. But our main focus would be the opportunity for them to have swim lessons for that 1 hour and be able to confidently navigate through our city beach. I've talked to quite a few other recreational entities such as Schweitzer Mountain and the YMCA. All of their day camp programs have been put on a wait list. when parents rely on these programs as not just an opportunity for kids to learn, they rely on these programs for an opportunity for daycare. We're presenting this opportunity through with the city of Sandpoint to be able to help offset that need of needing the care for the children, as well as giving them something to do under the care of our counselors that we'll be looking to hire. So the day camp will be offered to children ranging in ages from 5 to 12 years old. We will likely offer 2 sessions, one in the morning for 3 hours, then a break for the staff, and then one in the afternoon with staff to participant ratios of no more than 1 to 10. The half-day program schedule, in addition to including at least 1 hour of swim instruction, will include activities such as crafts, group games, free swim time, other opportunities for the children to play, socialize with their peers, all safely while their parents work or relax.
Katie, and these participants would be eligible for the scholarship funding too, is
Yes.
that right?
Yeah.
With council, we have, and many of you know this, but we have a scholarship program for parents and kids. I guess this isn't an action item. I just wanted Katie to present to you. So we're going to still try to figure out the lifeguarding situation. I've had a lot of feedback from the public today about this. Just for your own background, that concern falls into 2 camps. One is the liability for the city if we have no lifeguards. Many communities and waterfront towns in Idaho have gone away from having lifeguards because of the liability of having them. Per the Red Cross, you're supposed to have a ratio of 1 lifeguard per 25 swimmers. Some days we have upwards of 300 swimmers. So that would be like 12 lifeguards on duty. I can only imagine that if we don't meet those standards, we would probably expose ourselves to liability for not meeting standards. So it's an expensive and challenging and time-consuming subject, and we'll discuss it further during the budget sessions that we'll go through. But this at least gets kids and families introduced to the skills they need to swim independently, and I think it's going to be very popular. So I thank you, Katie, for thinking of this. It's Katie's idea, and entertain any questions from council on this item if there are any. Great. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, one moment. Christine Moon?
Oh, Miss Moon, can you hear? Oh, there you are. Hi.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, councilors, thank you for inviting us to speak. I'd like to speak on behalf of reprioritizing lifeguards at City Beach. It feels, I think, shocking to many residents that there were no lifeguards there last summer, and that again, this would happen. I looked back at the minutes, and the last time this was discussed in the council was July 5th, which is well into the summer season. So somehow this has been, I think, sort of backbenched and maybe not prioritized. I feel like we've already talked a little bit tonight about the importance of recreation to the community and the lake to the community, and our wish that people would be able to enjoy it and come to the community and enjoy the lake. This is a public safety issue. The largest portion of the general fund is public safety. And it seems a little incomprehensible that there wouldn't be enough resources to be able to prioritize this public safety issue. I just, in conclusion, would like to say that we shouldn't be relying on attentive bystanders to handle a potential crisis or a potential tragedy.
Thank you, Ms. Moon.
Mr. Mayor, that is all who have signed up to speak on this item.
Excellent.
One moment, Mr. Mayor, we do have a hand raised.
Okay.
Rebecca Holland.
Good evening, Ms. Holland.
Hello again, Council, Mr. Mayor. So last year at that July meeting, council made a commitment that they were going to improve the wages, saying that that was the reason they were unable to hire kids, that it was less than flipping burgers, as it was said. And the commitment was made. So, and it was said too that that's like 2023 and 2024 budgeted money for lifeguards. So, there's a greater need for like all ages of kids, not from kids to senior citizens that want to go down to the beach. And it's not just the locals, but it's also the visitors. So I think it's a huge liability for the city to be just backing away from this commitment that was made and is so much needed. The daycare program, or summer program, whatever it was being called, that's a nice idea, but maybe put the energy into that next year. This is something that needs to happen. I have heard that there were kids that could have been hired here that went up and worked in Bonners Ferry last year. So there was a lot of excuse making, but council literally stood up and said, we were going to do that. And that too is in the record. So the concept of trying to, like I'm reading, to generate revenue because this would be a tuition income from this program, that's not right. You know, this is not supposed to be a way for the city to make money. This should be something where you're caring for taking on the public, taking care of the public safety issues that we've always had and everybody wants. So please don't just drop this. I think this would be something that will be has a real impact on our community. So please, let's try to get it going because there is the money there.
Thank you, Ms. Holland.
That is all, Mr. Mayor.
The next item on the agenda, with the reactivation of our citizen advisory committees and following the ordinance adopted at our last meeting, we will continue council review and consideration of amendment of the section of the city code that governs these committees. Brought forth by city staff, presented this evening are proposed ordinances amending Title II, Chapter 9 and 4 for the ADA Advisory Committee and the Parks and Recreation Commission. I will now yield the floor to Arts and Historic Preservation Officer Heather Upton. Heather, thank you for joining us tonight and tell us about what we have.
Good evening, Mayor Grimm and Council. Thank you for the introduction too. I believe this is my first opportunity to present to you, Councilor Haworth, and it's a pleasure to meet you. Okay, so for tonight, we are focusing on two updates to our codes. So we're just going to go through both of them together. And I know you all have packets. I also have it up on the screen that I can scroll through too as well. So let me know what you're most comfortable with. So the first one is the Title II, Chapter 9, and it is the ADA code that supports that commission. And so essentially and then the second one would be the Title II, Chapter 4. And just as a reminder, Title II, Chapter 4, for the Parks and Rec Commission, this is a code that was established in 2003. So it might be a time for a little update on that. And then for the Title II, Chapter 9, the ADA Advisory Committee, that was done in 2016. So essentially what we're doing with these updates is we're focusing on format, structure, making sure that they're all consistent amongst all the committees and commissions. And we're also adding the organizational structure to support those committees and commissions. So that would be staff liaisons, subject matter experts, and clerks, making sure that that is in the content of there. And then we're also making sure that the new duties and roles have been updated to reflect the current supported plans. And for instance, the Parks and Recreation would be the Parks and Recreation Master Plan along with other plans. And then for the ADA transition, or for the ADA, committee, it would be the ADA transition plan and the other planning initiatives. And one thing that did happen before Christine Coleman, who was our ADA coordinator before she left, we were able to sit down with her and do a deep dive of her suggested advice and changes on that. Additionally, with Parks and Recreation, we sat down with our new wonderful staff liaison for that and all the other staff support for Parks and Recreation, and they were able to look and put their input into it as well. So do any of you have any questions on the two updates placed before you? The recommendation is considering approving both those draft changes.
Thank you, Heather. And I just want to point out for the Parks and Rec Commission, it's nice to have Dr. Meyer here because we have changed that to include a LPOSD staff and also a student on that advisory commission. So I think those voices will be really, really beneficial. With that, I'm just thrilled to get these commissions. Took a lot to get them tweaked and get this code set up, but we've got a bunch of interested, excited residents who want to help us work through this thing we call the city. So I look forward to their guidance and look forward to your support of these changes and adoption of this. Any questions from council?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Council President Rule.
I just had one comment. It's the same comment about I made previously about the other committees and commissions, and it's the term limit piece where there's only 2 terms that someone can serve, and I still have the same opinion that maybe there's a downtime of a year or 2, and then that person would be able to serve again and again. I just point out that we are a small community, and some people who might be experts in these fields and be able to give us the best guidance would then be barred from helping again. And I know that one of the problems our committees and commissions ran into historically is that we didn't have enough people interested in being on them. So I would hate to turn somebody away who was passionate, but there are also pros to having somebody step down for a short period of time and then return.
So maybe a 2-year pause or something like
A
that.
2-year pause.
Or a
I
different
would allow staff and others to determine that. But again, I think that's a comment I would make across all the committees and commissions. Just because, again, population, small town, we don't want them to fall apart.
Yeah, great points. Great points. I think we can touch on that when it comes back. I'm sure first draft and first adoptions, there may be some other changes over the course of time, but myself and staff will take note of making that change in the future for sure. Any other comments or questions from staff? Council? Any members of the public who wish to comment on this?
No, Mr. Mayor.
I will now ask the clerk to read the full title of the first ordinance of the ADA Advisory Committee ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Sandpoint, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, amending City Code Title II, Chapter 9, Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA Advisory Committee, providing for severability and providing for publication and an effective date.
I would entertain a motion that the ordinance pass its first reading by title only, and the summary is approved.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Schreiber, second by Rule. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Howarth,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Dick.
Yes.
The ordinance has passed its first reading by title only, and the summary is approved. I would entertain a motion that the rules requiring 3 separate readings, once in the ordinance entirety, be suspended at the ordinance pass its second and third reading under suspension of the rules. This will be a roll call vote. Oh, I need a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dick, second by Rule. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Dick,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Howarth,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Motion passes. The ordinance is considered read, passed, and adopted under the suspension of the rules and will become effective following the publication of the summary in the newspaper. Next, moving on to the Parks and Recs Commission Code Amendment. I would ask the clerk to read aloud the title of the Parks and Rec Commission ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Sandpoint, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, amending Sandpoint City Code Title II, Chapter 4, Parks and Recreation Commission, providing for severability and providing for publication and an effective date.
I'd entertain a motion that the ordinance passes first reading by title only and the summary is approved.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Howard, second by Dick. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Dick,
Yes.
Counselor Howarth,
Yes.
The ordinance is passed its first reading by title only and the summary is approved. I would entertain a motion that the rules requiring 3 separate readings, once in the ordinance's entirety, be suspended. The ordinance pass its second and third readings and suspension of the rules. This needs a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Schreiber, second by, I'm going to give it to the new guy, Howard.
Okay.
This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Howarth,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Dick.
Yes.
Motion passes. The ordinance is considered read, passed, and adopted under suspension of the rules and will become effective following publication and summary in the newspaper. Next motion is to, or item is to return to item 5 on the consent agenda that was removed by Council President Rule, procurement and contract policy update. The floor is yours, Councilwoman Rule.
Yeah, I just had a couple concerns and I don't know if it's a misunderstanding, but in one of the whereases, we're referring to housekeeping updates and we're changing policy to include replacements of the term division with department. And I'm reflecting back to the flow chart and I thought that that was something that was still sort of in process as opposed to being a finished item. So, and then even on here, we have directors. And so are we having department heads? Are we having director of departments? Are we having divisions? It's really confusing. I didn't feel comfortable just passing it on the consent calendar because I wasn't sure what was going on there. And then, let me go back out here. And this is the document here. And then in the city procurement contract policy, we were making some changes and we were going to, instead of being the officer, you are now becoming the manager.
Because my title changed
Right.
actually last year.
Okay.
And it wasn't on the previous updates to the policy. It never got updated.
Okay.
And I noticed it when we were updating it this time. And so that's why the change.
And I don't have a problem with that at all, but as I read through the document, I got confused because specifically, I think on page 2, governing authority section still has officer as opposed to manager. And then on page 4, there were a lot of inconsistencies. If it's saying officer and it means manager, or maybe that's all of the department. So I guess what I'm requesting is that we just go through the document and make sure everywhere we're changing it, we're actually changing it
Yeah.
with the intent. And that's maybe just a clerical thing. And it's a long document. So maybe that's just where we missed some pieces. So that again was just something I didn't feel comfortable with saying, okay, do this, but yet I found all these clerical things that
Yeah.
either I'm not understanding the document because there's 2 people or it's more of typos in the document.
Yeah, actually, I found those but it didn't get uploaded to the packet. I
Okay.
forgot to
All right.
swap it out.
Great. No, that's fine.
So-
Nobody's perfect. I'm not, and I don't expect anybody else to be. So no, I just wanted to point that out. Sounds like you've already taken care of it. So I heard you were great at your job and apparently you are. You already had the gut feeling. So those just were my concerns. So I guess the first question is really more for the mayor than it is for you. So
Council President Rule, as you may or may not be aware, the org chart, my draft version before you, is not a formal document in the history of Sandpoint. For example, it wasn't even included in the last budget adoption. So it's a somewhat, flexible, management organizational tool used by the manager of the city, used by the mayor to inform and certainly provide clarity to both staffing and to the council on how things are running and where things are running. So directors, green is how I prefer to align this. That you'll see that in the budget, forthcoming budget. These are going to be directors of departments. They are my directors of those departments and as such department heads. I will be coming to you through the budgeting process to request that we actually make those appointed positions. That's a whole separate conversation. And we can go into the details of the pros and cons of that as you wish. But for the purpose of the procurement policy and what's laid out before you is that's how I'd like to manage and operate the city in the staffing. And I can go through during the budget session of why there are some great advantages of that. Gives us a little more budget authority to do some other priority things by moving some positions and eliminating positions in former org charts. But for the most part, trying to be as transparent as possible and approach this. I guess in closing, I'd say it's my hope that by the time we get into the budget in about a month and a half, that you will understand sort of the method to the madness with people like Cheryl and Jason Welker and our other directors, as I'm calling them, providing updates and staffing reports. Hopefully this all makes sense to the council and something that you will support.
Totally understand that. I guess my next question would probably be for legal in that as the CEO of the city, the mayor is, so these are all more administrative and they're not legislative choices as far as divisions and departments, or where do we stand as a council in making decisions based upon that? I just don't want to. Do you understand where I'm headed with my question?
I think so. So Idaho code directs which positions need to be appointed. And I think the mayor just indicated that he'll be coming back to you for a decision on which positions remain appointed positions and which ones do not. For now, he does have the authority to move parts and pieces around in the organizational chart. He can't unilaterally make an adjustment to which positions are appointed, and he'll come back to you with a recommendation on how he'd like to see that go forward. Did that answer your question?
Pretty much. So just to clarify, so semantics as far as calling people divisions or department heads,
That's
that's
within his
just all semantics within what the mayor would like to choose to do.
That's correct.
Okay.
And
And
it-
so
it-
any of the other, like you said, appointed positions, we have to make decisions on that as we still have the fuzz of city administrator hanging out there. So we'll have to clarify that at a future date.
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that was clear with the division and department head types of things. And that's a fine explanation. I don't have any further discussion here at all.
And Councilwoman Rule, I'd just add, or Council President Rule, that this also plays into budgeting with Sarah and the finance, what she calls them in the budget book. So this will pair up in the budget book to what you'll see, for central services, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct. And I existed on council when it was department, so I understand how all that works, just for clarification. And since we're on the topic, it might not be the appropriate time to point this out, but the city council should have some arrows so that they have access to legal,
Yes.
because that's really important. So if we can add some arrows, that'd be great.
Yes. Excellent. With that, is there a motion to approve the procurement policy as has been stated? The inconsistencies have been, the clerical Scribner errors have been adjusted.
So moved.
Moved by Rule,
Second.
second by Schreiber. This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Rule,
Yes.
Counselor Howarth,
Yes.
Counselor Dick,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber.
Yes.
Excellent. With no further business on the agenda, this meeting is adjourned at 7:15 PM.